Well, hello beautiful people and welcome to Sunday stitching. So, Sunday lunchtime, nice and calm here, and I'm just going to do a bit more to my sampler patch. Now, you can't see all of it, but that's because I've got everything out. So let's move all of these bits and pieces. Now, those of you that have not seen the previous videos, we started with a base fabric that was basically 10 inches by 10 inches, and then we divided it into 9 squares of 3 by 3. I did a black running stitch and then thread through the gold thread to outline each one of these squares. We'd chosen 3 threads. We'd pulled out roughly 5 buttons, I think it was, and 3 fabrics. I don't know where my other fabric is. And as long as everything was, oh there it is, as long as everything was coordinating, you were going to be able to work along and do this project if you wanted to. So the first one, as you can see, was an alternative way of using buttons. The second one was just simply laying down 3 fabrics and doing a barrow stitch all the way through. Now I'd like some more elaborate stitches on my panels as I go through. So today I'm going to work on a square that's got no additional fabric, it's just going to have stitching. And the first stitching that I'm going to do is in my black thread. I've got some on my needle already. We are definitely going to need more. And I've got all 6 strands in here. Okay, now to get my, looks a bit like a sort of target, doesn't it? I just chose 3 random items that were on my desk. So this is the resin tape. So that was my big circle, and I just literally drew around it with a pencil, and I knew I wanted 2 of these. I'm going to call them flower heads. So I did one at this side and one at that side. I then took the next size ring, drew around it again with a pencil on both of them, and then I used the core of the cotton reel to do the same again. You can see this one is not a very good circle at all, but we can live with that. So I'm going to move my odd items out of the way. I'm going to pick up my needle, and what I'm going to be doing today to create my flower is I'm going to be doing some pistol stitches. So I'm going to work on this flower first. I'm going to totally ignore this flower because this flower is going to be, as it were, in the foreground. So I'm going to do that on top in different colours. So taking my needle and thread, I'm going to start on my pencil ring that is the smallest in the centre, and I am simply going to go in a straight line to the next sized circle, and I'm going to pull through so I've got 1 straight stitch. And then, do you know what I'm thinking? Is that too wide an angle for you? Shall we zoom in a little bit and see if we can get this a bit bigger? Right, I'm going to put you on pause a minute. Okay, I've taken away the plastic bag because there was a bit of a glare, and I've zoomed you in hope that you can see me a bit better so you don't have to rely on my words. So basically I've done the first stitch from the centre to the next line. I'm then coming back in exactly the same space, and I'm simply going to do a French knot. So I've come through, going to wrap 1, 2, 3 around my needle, go back through the same hole, but I want to hold the thread taut on this side. Okay, pull that back through like that. And I've got this like little tiny flower and a stem, but that's not the actual flower, that is just one part of the flower. I'm not much of a plant knowledgeable person, so I can't tell you the name of the flower. I mean, it's a bit like a stamen or whatever. It's part of a flower. I'm hoping to create something that looks a little bit like a dandelion. So you can see that for the next stitch, what I've done is, whoops. Now, one of the things is when you're doing nature like this, it's quite forgiving. So the second stitch, I'm going to the outer circle. Okay, I'm going to wrap round again. Whoops, 1, 2, 3. I'm going back in. I've actually bent this needle, which is not brilliant, but anyway, I've put embroidery needles on my Christmas list, so hopefully, see, and then I've got another one, and then the next stitch comes back down to that tiny center circle again, and then up to the middle line and come through, and then back through. Just make sure you don't come back through the same hole. 1, 2, whoops, 1, 2, 3, and we're going back down that hole. I'm going to hold this thread nice and tight, okay, and just pull that back through, holding it right till you're almost there. Okay, and you see what we're getting is we're getting alternate long and short piston stitches, which are creating or going to create our flower. Okay, this time we're on the outside, we're coming back through. So of course, although this is going to be, or this is a nice decorative stitch, you can see that we're not doing anything super complicated. All we're doing is one straight stitch, and then we're doing a French knot on the end. It's called piston stitch, and I'm going to work my way around the entire circle doing this. Okay, now if you've now got the hang of it, or you already know how to do a piston stitch and you don't want to hang around to the end, you want to just grab your stuff and get on, that's absolutely fine, totally understand. And I'll be back in about a fortnight ish to do the next panel. If you're not sure, or you're just happy crafting along, you may have your piece and your threads with you, already done your circles and be stitching along with me. Well, that's absolutely fine. So it's great to have you. It might get a little bit noisy in a few minutes. Hubby's getting ready to take Boo out on her walk. So of course she gets excited and jumps around a little bit when that happens. So be prepared for that coming shortly. See, and it's just repetition. Just keep going all the way round the circle until we've completed this. And when I get to the centre, for those of you that may be wanting to rush off, I'm going to be using a different colour probably the yellow, I think, and I will be, yes, I'm going to use the yellow, and I'm going to do French knots to fill up that middle to be my pollen, as it were, in the middle. Okay, I'm going to have to change thread in a minute. I'm just going to double check that this is in screen and you can see what I'm doing. Yes, you can. So it's amazing, isn't it? You know, we use these things all the time. I totally forget that I've got a zoom function on my camera. And that I can zoom in. It's crazy. Took me forever to realise I had a pause button. Now this one I'm gonna, because my thread's getting short now, I'm actually going to turn over. You see you've got these lovely lines on the back, and I'm just going to come through those 2 stitches, and then I'm going to go back through my loop, and I'm going to close that off, trim my thread, and then I'm just going to add a new piece of thread into my needle. I don't know quite what's going on with my thread here, but just get a nice long bit so we don't have to do it again. I'm just going to thread this famous last words, as always. My eyesight, that's why I had that first bit threaded. Didn't think really to thread it longer, which I probably should have done. Seriously, I'm struggling with this needle. I know last time I was on, somebody suggested putting some sellotape or something around it. I don't quite like that idea. I don't know that that would work. Or even some glue somebody suggested. I think the answer is that, you know, slow patience really. Oh, sorry, I just need to go and sort the dog out. I'll be straight back. Right, okay, sorry. So I've sorted the dog out, I've threaded my needle. I'm just going to put a knot in the end here. And now what we are going to do is turn it over and carry on. So we are back to the middle. It's where we always start, at the middle. Now I've got a knot. That's just so typical, isn't it? Just so typical. Why have I got a knot? Shouldn't have. Oh, there we go. Try that again. Goodness me. So starting at the centre, going to our middle circle, coming through, and then adding our French knot to the end. Pulling it tight. Obviously, if you let go of this thread here, that's when your French knot is not very happy. There we go. Just take my woolly off, it's getting warm in here. All right. It's been very fidgety today's video, hasn't it? I do apologise. Right, now do not get confused by your second flower. Just carry on with your original one. We don't care about that second flower. Just pretend it's not there for the time being. And then, oops, not that one. All the way up, okay. I suppose, you know, it wouldn't overly matter if you did do two short ones together. There are flaws in everything, including nature, but ideally what you want to do is one long and one small. So we come round again, 1, 2, 3, put our needle back, hold on to our thread, push through, pull. So I haven't really got any stories to tell you. Nothing much has happened. We haven't really seen any family or anything. It's just been hubby and I here potting around doing what we do. I have been working on my stitching book. I don't want to call it Book of Stitchery or Book of Stitching, because of course that's what Roxy from Roxy Creations is doing, and I don't want anyone to think that I'm trying to jump on her bandwagon or steal her thunder or whatever, because that's not what I'm doing. Oh, you see now, if you come back through the same hole, that's what's going to happen. You've got to make sure that you get just literally next door. There we go. Oh, I've done it again. Oh dear. Craziness, isn't it? Right, don't do it again, Claire. Leave yourself a tiny space. There we go. So yes, I wanted to make a book. I have been doing journal covers, as some of you will have seen, using crazy quilting and then doing some slow stitching embellishment on top. And I recently did my November design team project for Antonio Makes, and I used the DigiKit printed on fabric and did one there, and yeah, fabulous, love it. But I wanted just a different book, a book of my own that I was going to just stitch through. So if you want to do something similar, I'll show you what I did. I basically had an old quilt, and if you've been around my channel, you will recognise this old pink and blue quilt that I had from a charity shop. Oh, that one's really big, isn't it? But then that's nature for you. Right, sorry. So I had this quilt, and I basically cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I cut 6 pieces that were 12 inches long. Oh, I've just realised I've zoomed you in, haven't I? Sorry. So you're not going to see anything really, but 6 pieces that were 12 inches long by 6 inches high. I folded them in half to make 6 by 6 pages. Okay, and then I created a cover doing a 7 by 6 for the front, a 7 by 6 for the back, and then I believe that's 3-inch spine, and I've got 1/2 inch front to spine and 1/2 inch back to spine, which gives me an actual 2-inch spine. Okay, and then I took some of the same background calico. I just embroidered on a tree. I used some hessian. I did the words fabric and thread. I did 2002 through the middle. I did home and a crazy house on the back. And now I've just started to work on the pages in between. Now this very first page, and obviously it's not all sewn in properly or anything yet, but again I got some base fabric, I filled it full of buttons, and I've done some puffs. So, and I've just started to lay on this one. Not lay on it, lay fabrics down on it. So obviously if you want to consider making yourself a little book like that, that's something that you could do. And if you feel that this, you know, this panel that we're doing here is a little bit too basic for you, and you'd rather do something a little more complicated because, you know, you feel you're at a more advanced stage, this was designed for beginners, then, I mean, I'm only a beginner myself really, but then that's absolutely fine. Obviously, go ahead and have a bash at that and see how you get on. If you're happy poodling along here with me doing this, then that's awesome as well. Whatever makes you happy. But I have, as I say, I've started on that book. I'm going to be inspired doing that book by really 3 different people. I'm going to be inspired by the wonderful Anne Brooke, who introduced me to all of this with her tags, her 52 handmade tags. I think that was 2 years ago now. I'm also going to be inspired by, with my book, you know, by Rachel over at Roxy Creations. Her and her sister Sarah, they are creating an awesome collection of stuff that people are doing. And in following Rachel's Book of Stitchery, I believe that's the hashtag, I have discovered other ladies and what they're doing. So there's lots of people inspiring me, and I'm just loving watching their videos, having a go and finding out whether I can actually do this or not, basically. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I don't know if you just heard that. That's Bo getting all excited because she knows Dad's ready to take her for a walk. They always, well, not always, but they mostly tend to go on a lunchtime at the weekend because it's, especially this time of year, it's daylight and they can enjoy the walk much more than when it's pitch black at night. So yeah, although they do tend to be twice as long when they go in the daytime, but then I think that makes Boo happy as well. So it's as long as it's broad. So you can see it's not really much time, and this is coming together very nicely. So yeah, I haven't decided what I'm going to do on next week's square. I tend to a bit of a fly by the seat of my pants, as you know. I tend to sort of decide in the morning, depending on what mood I'm in. So I can't tell you what I'll be doing next time. Whoops. What I can tell you is I'll be using the same colour band. That's about it, really. So we're about halfway there. It's the thing, you know, slow stitching is about slow, relaxed, calm. If you're in a hurry, then stick it in the sewing machine. That's my my word of advice. But I'm sewing for sewing's sake. Bye, hubby. Bye, boo. See you later. That's them going. See you in a bit. I noticed over the last few walks, hubby's gradually getting more and more layers on. It's getting colder out there. So, and I've been in the kitchen and prepped all my veggies. Dinner's ready to go because it's Sunday, and I like to have everything ready to go so that when I decide, you know, well, it's time to get it turned on now, it is just turning it on. I've done all the prep work already. So, done the prep work, tidied round from the prep work. We've had our normal egg and bacon that we have on a Sunday. We tend to only eat twice on a Sunday because we'll have egg and bacon for breakfast, and although it's breakfast, we don't have it till about, I don't know, 10:30, 11 o'clock, something like that. And of course it is Remembrance Sunday today, so I had the telly on watching, you know, the parade, and now I'm here with you lovely people, and hubby's gone off walking. I don't go with them. I don't know if I've ever told you before, but the reason I don't go is because Boo gets distracted. She's like a child really. She wants to show me everything that she can see, because she knows I don't usually go, and so she gets distracted and hubby gets frustrated and he doesn't enjoy the walk, so I don't go. But to be honest, it suits me. When she was a tiny pup, I was the one that walked her. I walked her everywhere. But then, and we would be out for hours and hours, we would walk miles. But now that she is so much bigger, I am frightened that, although she is a very well behaved dog and I feel I have good command over her, at the end of the day I am mindful that she is an animal. She does have a will of her own, and if something happens to make her want to go in a different direction to me, I do not have the physical strength that hubby has. I cannot stop her. And because she is very, very precious to me, I won't risk that there'll be a problem. To me, it's not worth it. Yeah, there's some fights that you want to have and some you don't. So, yeah, I am quite happy to stay here and let hubby walk her. And it does give them time together because really she's my dog. And she comes to me for everything, which is lovely. She comes to me when she's hungry. She comes to me when she wants to go out into the garden. She needs to do her business or whatever. She comes to me just for a cuddle. And it's me that she cuddles up with at night. And it's my side of the bed that she sleeps on. So she really is my dog. But the walk is like hubby's thing, and that's when they get their time together. So it just feels a perfect solution that they go without me. Sorry, I know I'm flicking this around. It's because I tend to work a bit cockeyed. I have tried working in a hoop. Can't do it. It frustrates me. It gets in the way. It's just really annoying. So consequently, I end up flinging my work round some weird anti-clockwise manner or whatever, just to get it where I want it to be. So if it's going in and out of frame, I do apologise. I'm trying to keep it in frame for you here. And look at that, we've done a little bit of chit chat. Oops, sorry. And now this is the last one. So I'm going to come in a bit because my circle actually meets the border. So I'm going to come in a little tiny bit for this one. Oh, we've got shouting in the street now as well. Because that's the other thing, you see. The odd thing about Boo is she loves her walk. But she doesn't go for a walk to go for a walk. She goes for a walk to see people. And if they're out and they see people and they don't pay attention to her, she gets the right ump. Because in Boo's eyes, the only reason people are in the street is because they're waiting to play with her. You know, she's not a queen bee or anything, goodness me. Right. So there is my last one. And now I've got this beautiful dandelion type flower going on. So turn it over. Going to come through that stitch there, and I'm just going to get a little knot going and finish this off like so. I'm going to trim that thread, put that needle down, pick up my needle that's got my yellow thread in it. Okay, get a knot on the end, and I'm gonna come into the center, but right on that center ring. Okay, and I'm gonna do French knots, and that is how I'm gonna fill my center, my pollen, if you like. So yeah, this one is gonna, what's going on here? This one is going to be the black with the yellow center. The next one that I'm gonna do, this one here, I think I'm gonna do in yellow, and then I'm gonna use that creamy mushroom colour for my center. So I'm just working my way through like this. You can see it's coming right through. It sounds like somebody's got the car radio going loud, so I'm guessing that noise is somebody probably washing their car. Do you know, it's a funny thing, isn't it, car washing? Years ago when I was growing up, I remember my dad, he would go out every Sunday morning. It was a big ritual in our house. He would go out every Sunday morning, he would go to the petrol station, and he would fill the car up, regardless of how much fuel was in it. He would just, like, as it were, top it up, and then he would come home and he would wash the car, and then he'd come in and we'd have dinner, because my mum always did a Sunday roast for 12 o'clock, and there was no reason whatsoever that allowed you not to be there. You would be there and you would eat your Sunday roast with the family. And then in the summer months, after dinner, my father would go upstairs. He would get changed into his whites, and we would all go to the local cricket ground, and he would play cricket. He was in the cricket team. And in the winter months, he would sit down on the sofa and watch football. And that Sunday never ever changed. That was Sunday in my childhood home until I left home, basically. That's what happened. No ifs, no buts, no babies. It was very funny. Sunday was a day that nobody came in, and other than Dad's cricket, nobody went out. It was a family day, and that was that. It's amazing how times have changed, because hubby and I, we have a Sunday roast, and it was always a Sunday roast, and there was always a dessert. It was the only day of the week that we had a dessert, or a pudding, whatever you want to call it. Hubby and I, we do have a roast, but we have a roast because hubby is very much a meat and two veg man. If he doesn't get his meat and two veg, he's not happy. But we have a roast, and we have it about 4 o'clock, because we've had our big egg and bacon. We've been busy doing things. I'm always doing some kind of crafting, because if I'm not stitching with you guys, I am doing Papercraft Live or whatever. And he's been out with the dog, etc, etc. So we always have dinner about 4 o'clock. And totally contrary to my mum's plan of nobody comes in and nobody goes out, all sorts of people turn up at my house on a Sunday, and everybody that turns up knows that there are 2 people living in this house. I am cooking a roast to feed probably 8. So all sorts of people turn up, have a plate of food, chat through whatever, and that's Sunday. And then once they've gone and the food's been forgotten about, it's time to sit on the sofa and digest some mind-numbing TV. Does that sound like your Sunday? What kind of Sunday do you have? Or do you find that you don't really have a set thing? Is every Sunday slightly different? I'm curious to know, because I talked about on one of my paper videos. Oh, that one's gone all loose. I wasn't concentrating, I was talking. On one of my paper videos recently, I talked about jigsaws and Christmas, and I was interested to find that somebody commented that they had exactly the same routine. So it'd be interesting to see if some of you have my married life Sunday routine, or if you have my childhood life routine, or if you do something completely different. Be interesting to know, because there was a long time, actually, I'm saying we always have roast. There was a long time during which we didn't eat a roast dinner on a Sunday, hubby and I, because we were out socialising, and consequently we would have what I call a normal dinner, and then we'd have our roast on a Monday But when COVID hit, you know, the dreaded thing that we're not supposed to talk about, and we didn't go out, you know, people weren't going out, you sort of, or we definitely got into the routine of, well, you know, if we're not going out anywhere, we might as well, as it were, return to the business of a Sunday roast. And because it tends to take a bit of time, doesn't it, cooking a roast? It's not a half-hour meal by any means. And yeah, we sort of stuck with it because I do think to a degree we are still a little bit sort of COVID times, in as much as I've got another raised one there, in as much as whilst we've returned to, not us personally, I think a lot of people, whilst we've returned, I'm just going to stitch that down. I'm going to put a cheeky little stitch in there to hold down that one, that French knot that was a bit loose. And then this is going to be my very last one going in here. Then this flower's done. Sorry, although we've gone back to work and we've gone back to seeing people and so on and so forth, I think there's a lot of things that have not gone back. Being cashless seems to be one of them. People being quite nervous about life in general seems to be another one. So there you go, I'm going to finish that off. With a knot, like so. Cut my thread. And there. Oh, don't tell me I've been off screen, off camera the whole time. That's going to be really frustrating. I will double check that. If you see this, you'll know it was okay. If you don't see this and you see me sewing the gold one over there, you'll know I was off camera the whole time. As always, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you like the little flower. You'll consider having a go at that. Stay safe. I'll see you very soon. Bye bye for now.